made the difficult decision to exempt secondary suites from the OCP's total residential density cap. And now, proposed bylaw 413, through an addition to a footnote in the OCP, will do the same for what will be called detached secondary suites. It is a historical turning point. The approval of attached suites in 2008 and the complement to that task was with detached suites are by far the two largest decisions, land use decisions in our island's history, fundamentally altering the future population settlement pattern. So it is natural to ask how many dwelling units have these two initiatives for attached and detached suites added to the OCP build-out. Perhaps 1,000 dwellings someday. Or maybe an honest answer is that no one knows. Some people will say that the OCP's residential density cap doesn't matter in any case. You simply can't pull up the drawbridge when the limit is reached. This long-standing argument misses the point. An accurate understanding of both the pattern and the extent of residential development is central to planning for public infrastructure and environmental preservation. Without such proactive planning, we cannot answer such questions as, what is the rate of residential growth within Snug Cove versus the rest of the island? Or how many secondary residential dwellings does the OCP anticipate within our watersheds and water management districts? Permitting attached suites, and now their detached cousins, contributes to the housing diversity that is crucial to social sustainability. These initiatives pursue certain OCP objectives, even though the additional residential density may make it more difficult to accomplish those community goals. These are the trade-offs and often unintended consequences that accompany governing a small island, but there is one consequence I think that stands out. Creating such a liberal allowance for detached suites on lots that are 0.9 acres or larger works at cross purposes with the OCP objective to transfer future residential density from large lots into compound and revitalized village areas. The OCP contains numerous policies regarding what it calls density reallocation to direct future growth into Snug Cove and a future village at Seymour Bay. Much policy development and staff time will be necessary to determine, for example, how many housing units one oceanfront lot at Cape Roger Curtis is worth in Snug Cove. But in any case, the policy direction is clear and the public benefits are readily apparent. The density reallocation stimulates the creation of walkable villages, the preservation of unfragmented forests, and the reduction of greenhouse gases from less reliance on automobiles. However, the acceleration of development on rural lots, enabled by bylaws 413 and 414, runs counter to this OCP initiative. On the one hand, under the standard rezoning process, the municipality will be trying to transfer residential density from the island's hinterland into the cove, while on the other hand, it is granting new residential development rights to those same rural lot owners. Specifically, the housing infill from suites on rural lots undermines Policy 18, which commits the island to achieve a 50% reduction of on-road transportation greenhouse gas emissions from the year 2007 by the year 2020. As I said earlier, these are the trade-offs that accompany any effort to manage growth. There should be no illusions that bylaws 413 and 14 will create affordable housing, at least as defined in the OCP. But these initiatives will contribute to building the full spectrum of housing types that are needed for families and individuals at each stage in their lives. The policy decision embodied in 413 to exempt detached suites from the OCP residential density cap makes sense. However, that change should be how that change is to be regulated is a different question, and that brings us to the need for improvements to the accompanying bylaw 414. Thank you. Now, I'm happy to let anyone else speak and then come back. I don't want to take up all the time. I'm not in charge here.
No, actually. Carry on.
Okay. Proposed bylaw 414 opens strongly by combining detached suites and attached secondary suites together under a new definition in the land use bylaw as accessory residential use. Under the regulations governing accessory residential use, there are listed a number of sensible rules. I won't read all the rules. But how council arrived at this number, 0.9 acres or larger to be eligible for detached suites, including at one time the tentative decision to have no minimum lot size at all, will be fodder for future local politicians to feed on. The municipal planner has informed council that that lots with 0.9 minimum acre permitted size, there are about 780 lots that could currently be eligible for detached suites. There is no information, however, for how many lots there could be eligible for detached suites at OCP build-out. That is, when all properties in the future are developed to the level envisioned for them in the OCP. Council is going into this direction to radically alter Bowen Island's settlement pattern, quite blind to the trajectory of the development rights it is launching into the future. However, aside from that hazard, there are some curiosities when you compare the regulations in the bylaw 194, passed in 2008, which regulated secondary suites, and you compare that with the current proposed bylaw 414. Regulation 7 in the 2008 bylaw prohibits creation of a strata lot on a secondary suite and its attached principal dwelling unit. I assume this prohibition continues under the bylaw for attached suites, but there is no similar prohibition in bylaw 414 for detached suites. Perhaps I'm missing something here, but I want to draw that to your attention. Also in bylaw 194, regulation 8 states that a secondary suite shall satisfy the requirement of the BC Building Code. No similar assertion is found in 414. And this goes to the heart of a great problem. How can the requirements of the secondary suites be fulfilled unless there is a requirement for registration and inspection of the secondary suites? This dilemma has festered since 2008, when secondary suites were permitted. The only attached suites that have been registered and inspected are those that went through the formal building or renovation permit process with the municipality. The municipal planner says there are currently 27 attached suites, but in reality, there are many more than that. There are perhaps over 100. One of the consequences of this breakdown in the reporting system is that water district trustees do not have any accurate or official information on the number of dwellings that draw from their water system. Written confirmation from water district authorities that there is sufficient potable water should be obtained by the municipality before any new secondary dwellings are approved within a water district. That's the regulation on Salt Spring Island. The failure to acknowledge the many already existing attached suites raises more issues than just health, safety, and environmental concerns. Landowners of unregistered suites are free riders on municipal services that their tenants consume, because the increased public demand from the operation of a suite is not balanced by higher property taxes on the landowner. The important link between municipal registration of the suite, inspection by the Coastal Health Authority, and then notification to the BC Assessment Authority is broken when the municipality does not require and proactively enforce registration of suites. Bowen Island can learn from other municipalities in this respect, which proactively enforce the registration of suites in the public interest. Bylaw 414 affirms the same statement in the attached suites bylaw 194 that commercial guest accommodation, including bed and breakfast, is not permitted. The limitation is reasonable, but we know it is inadequate. Something stronger than a bylaw prohibition is necessary to eliminate detached suites from becoming the party house next door. Council should seek legal advice about the potential for restriction on the property title against short-term vacation rentals and against subdivision of the main and rental dwellings. Final page. One of the chief virtues of bylaw 414 is that the requirement to obtain a development permit to construct a detached suite will mean that a landowner will need to maintain a file with the municipality. That means that detached suites will not be able to go unregistered the way attached suites have been. And the development permit requirement, it has that perhaps unintended benefit, because it means that there will be a file that can be referred to, proving all the steps that have been taken in getting that permit and identifying with the specific property. It's not clear to me, however, whether the municipality will be obliged to notify neighbors when a landowner applies for a detached suite. During the community consultation process for these proposed bylaws, such notification was the chief desire of the public, according to your planner's report. Accountability for the operation of a detached suite should also consider after the rental dwelling is constructed. Bowen Island should adhere to the example on Salt Spring, where one person in either the principal residence or the detached suite is authorized by the owner to manage the property, including dealing with any complaints of neighbors. This measure is less onerous than requiring owner occupation of one of the dwellings. If detached suites are permitted and attached suites continue to be unregistered, the municipality is likely to be confronted with situations where there are 3 dwellings on any given property: the main residence, a covert attached suite in the basement, and a detached suite in the backyard, all owned and operated by an absentee landlord. Finally, let me comment on the development permit regulations in the bylaw. I especially approve of such clauses as 3 and 7, quote, that existing mature trees and significant landscape features of a property shall be kept wherever possible, and quote, vegetation shall be native and drought resistant. I hope this permit is a precursor to the promised and much to be desired environmentally sensitive areas development permit area and hazardous slopes development permit area that this council in Island Plan 2017 has committed to bringing forward for community consideration. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Okay, so I'm calling for a second time. Are there any further submissions? Okay, and I'm calling for a third time, and this is the final time for any further submissions regarding bylaws number 413 and 414, 2016. Okay, then we hereby close the public hearing portion of the meeting. If there are no further public input, then council now has a choice. If council does not wish to have a further staff report, then the recommendation is that all written and verbal submissions regarding bylaws 413, 2016 and 414, 2016 up to and including April 24, 2017 be received and that the public hearing be adjourned. Can I have a motion on that? So moved. Seconded. And is there any discussion before I call the question on that recommendation? Okay, all in favor? Okay, I think we did it right this time. We really do. Okay, so the public hearing is hereby adjourned. Right? Right. Got it. Set the public hearing. We finally got that. Yeah.
So did you write the article?
Okay, then I can give it where I can just say this, my own scanner, because I thought I saw it, so I gave it to him at home. And so Eric had one with him, and I promised them I'd get back to them today.
All this stuff is right now.
Right.